Yes, sir. Yeah.
Not this week, but next week you.
We're doing that. Okay.
Now, what you're going to notice as this sits here, until we're ready to use it, it's going to get darker.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you just you all like a brown roux. If we're not going to use it immediately, pull it off a little shade lighter than you want it to be, and then like I said, there's tons of heat in there.
Oh. See, that happens sometimes.
Yeah. See that?
Yowzers.
Boy, you got me all messed up.
Yeah.
Oh,
Burning, cutting.
sorry, chef. It's not my fault, man. Gee. Alright. It happens sometimes. You get cut, you burn something.
He told you better quit smoking that stuff.
I'm a Jamaican, you know.
Oh, I'm just kidding.
It's in my DNA. Yeah. You know, I said the best weed come from Jamaica.
Oh, yeah. I used to smoke weed, but I don't do that anymore.
Good for you. Good for your soul, you know. Good for your brain.
My one son says the best weed comes from California.
That's a lie.
Really?
It made me dumb.
Jamaica got the best weed, man. They got good stuff down there, though.
What I want you to do next week? What's that?
What's that ringing, Chef?
What?
That ringing noise.
Ringing noise.
Yeah.
Is there a ringing noise?
Yeah.
Nothing like the fridge. Like that machine.
Once you're done with your roux, clean the pot out, bring it back, and then continue with the recipe. So we don't need one pot for roux, one pot for the next part of it. Okay, so the next part of it, we're going to start by making a pinsage. So what's pinsage?
Vegetables and tomatoes brown.
Okay, yeah. So, and why do we do that?
Helps give flavor.
Yeah,
to
okay,
the
get
sauce.
flavor, and then brown the tomato paste because it also adds color
Yeah.
to it.
Does
Now-
it add a little thickness to it, do you think?
No. You know, in theory, you have a little bit of the tomato paste, which is thicker than stock. It would, but not
Not enough.
anything that needs it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have the mirepoix. We have carrots, onions, and celery. Why are they separated? Why do onions and carrots go in the pot first? What's causing the sizzling sound?
Water.
Water too. Water evaporating, some coming out of the vegetables and that, but we don't have like a boil happening. That's what I'm talking about when I say we don't want it.
Can you use a whisk for the pinsage as well as the roux, or just
You can't really use a whisk because you can't put enough pressure on the bottom of that to scrape up that bondage on there. You could use a heat-proof rubber spatula to make roux, okay, but you couldn't use that for this because you need something stiff so that as you add water or if you're just stirring it, you can get some pressure on it to lift up that pot. Okay, so if I add a little bit of water in there now, just stir that around a little bit. So what color do we see more? Okay,
It's starting to get brown.
yeah, okay, so you can tell the difference there.
Oh,
okay?
yeah.
We're gonna let that just go a little bit longer, and then we should be okay as far as the browning of this goes. See the bubbling that's happening in there now? In like the middle, okay, that's water evaporating. It's not browning at this point. Might be browning a little bit around the edges there.
Chef, it was this the stock we made from last 2 weeks ago.
No, that's brown stock that was actually in the freezer that we made
Okay.
last semester.
Oh.
Okay, so now we're pretty much where we need to be. And make sure we get all that really dark stuff off of there. And there we got a nice brown color of that tomato now.
Over there.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Beautiful.
So now we're at the point now where we can go ahead and add our stock. A little more. Okay? So we'll go with the tomato paste.
It's coming.
How much tomato paste?
Two
Tablespoon?
tablespoons, I
Two
think it is. The recipe's on the blackboard side.
Ah, okay.
Okay, so
and how much-
then what we're going to do is,
How much that, chef? How much that gonna heal?
what?
How much that gonna heal? How much
A quart.
quart?
Okay, so you see how the tomato paste is kind of like pumping up there? We want it to spread out a little bit more. So we're going to take a little bit of the water. Maybe just two tablespoons. Loosen that up, stir that around. So now it's more spread out
Yes, sir.
on the pan. And then we're just going to, again, let that cook.
Smells good.
Okay, so maybe
Yeah.
we're going to turn the flame down just a little bit.
Yeah.
Why do you have the tomato paste before the celery?
What's that?
Why have the tomato paste before the
Because
celery?
we want to brown the tomato paste also.
Because the celery has water in it,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
So we just let that cook. And then eventually you're going to see where we're creating a little tomato fond on the bottom of that pot there.
Oh, yes.
You see that dark there?
That's
Once
good.
we see that, we can try to scrape that up with just a spoon. Okay, if we leave it there for too long, it's going to get really dark. Let's just scrape it up a little bit. That little bit that's on there, no scraping against the sides of the pot. Okay? And again, we don't, spread it out, so we're using the whole surface of the pot. Eventually, it's going to get to the point where we really can't scrape it up with just a dry spoon. Then we'll add a little bit of water to it. Now, it can't brown, it can't continue to brown until all the water's evaporated. So we want to use as little water as possible. We can keep cooking it. We keep adding water, it'll never get brown. We can cook it for a whole week.
Right.
Yeah.
So at this point, you can see how it's a little dark there. And then I'm going to pour a little bit in there. And then use that in your spoon to scrape up some of those brown bits there. But, okay, so see now, the water's pretty much evaporated.
Yeah.
Okay, but now there's still a little bit of dark stuff there. So I'm just going to add a tiny. It doesn't look as fluid as it did before.
Let me see, Chef.
It's looking a little more
Oh,
chunky
yeah.
to it. Okay, so that's telling us that it's kind of getting a little bit too brown too fast. So what I'm going to do, take it off the heat and keep stirring. Now there's plenty of heat in here. What's the nickname for this in the kitchen? Brown roux? What do chefs call it?
Some kind of bomb.
Nickname.
Some kind
Napalm. Kitchen napalm.
Napalm.
Yeah, you get this on your wrist and you'll know why.
Oh.
Okay? So, but there's tons of heat in here. So as I'm doing this, it's still cooking. Look at it now.
browner, yeah.
Okay, it got browner even though it was off the heat, and now it's more fluid. Okay, so what's the color look like now?
Starting to look like
Chocolate.
chocolate. Milk
Yeah,
chocolate.
more like milk chocolate, okay? We want it to be a little darker than milk chocolate.
Oh.
We don't want it to be semi-sweet chocolate, okay, but kind of in between there. So once that turns a little bit more fluid-like, we'll get that back on the stove.
All right.
Okay, Dr. Thompson. And then we'll just let that cook a little bit more.
Is he a professor here?
Dr. Thompson is the Associate Dean
Oh.
for Business Technology, which the culinary
Oh.
program falls under
Okay.
Business and Technology. Okay, so now what's going to happen is I'm going to pull this off now, and then what we're going to see, okay, now what I want to do is get this off of the pan, because I need the pan again. So I'm going to take, but we want it to stop cooking, so we're going to take it off the heat and out of the pan, because the pan's real hot now too. And we don't want carryover heat from the pan
Chef Hunt,
to cook it more.
can you repeat the name that what you're making again, please?
First off, can you repeat the name of me
Hunt.
correctly?
H-O-U-N-T.
No, that's our other teacher.
Oh, it's Art. Oh, it's Art. I'm sorry. Sir. I'm probably, look, sir. I'm sorry, sir. I'm sorry.
He's in
And then Chef Hunt. Harder, but that's not the reason. What's in the flavor? Carrots and onions. It isn't really sweetness, okay? So what we want to do is leave just the carrots and onions in there, so they will begin to brown a little bit. Other thing is the celery has a lot of loose water in it too, and so that water would inhibit the browning of it. We want the flavor of the celery, but not so that it will inhibit us from getting the brown. So we're going to add a little bit of oil, about a tablespoon, and then we'll begin with our carrots and onions. Okay. Now, a lot of times in cooking, the best thing to do is nothing. This is one of those times. Okay, because we want the carrots and onions to brown. If I'm in here now and I'm just stirring and stirring and stirring, the vegetables are very rarely in contact with the hot metal. So you have a spoon in your hand, there's stuff in the pot, natural reaction is, oh, I'm just gonna, I have to stir it. That's why I don't like to have spoons near stocks when you're cooking it, because you don't have to stir the stock. But if there's a spoon near that stock pot, somebody's stirring it.
Chef, is that pimento seed?
What?
Is that pimento seed?
No, that's pepper.
Oh, bro.
Black pepper. Okay, so right now, and what we don't want to do, see how it's covering the bottom? Okay, I don't want it piled up
Yeah.
in a big pile. Okay, we want, think of the bottom of the pan as our playing field. We don't want any spectators. We don't want carrots on top of carrots watching what happens. We want everybody involved with it.
Yeah.
And again, sometimes, what you need to do, especially in this recipe, there's a few points where you just need to let it go. And then once we start to see some brown highlights on the carrots and the onions, you look in there now, you'll see the beginning of some browning
Yeah.
on there.
That's
Okay?
right. Yeah.
We can let it go just a little bit more. And then the next thing that we'll do is add in our tomato paste. And now your recipe, it also says water, as needed. Okay, so I'll show you what you need that for and how much. So at this point, you're going to use inside for the velouté.
40 ounces.
Yeah, for how many cups? 5 cups.
That's the brown stuff.
See how that's a little bit,
Yeah.
has that viscosity to it? Okay, that's from the gelatin that was in there. Okay, now that I have the stock in there, I was using a medium flame to brown the tomato paste. Now I can turn it up because it's nothing's going to burn now because of the liquid in there. Hey, Chef. Okay, so now that I have that in there, then I can add the celery. And I have some bay leaf and some thyme. And I have the peppercorns. Reach in that second drawer there. There's a small blue French knife. Okay. So what we want to do with the peppercorns is we want them to be smashed a little bit. Just take your knife, press down on them, expose the inner part of it. You get a little bit more flavor out there. Okay. So now if you look in there now, if we didn't have it browned enough, you might start to see a little red sheen on top of the liquid there. So what we're going to do is bring this to a simmer and then stir the roux into it. So again, roux and liquid, they should be at opposite temperatures. Now this will still be warm. I mean, if you feel the bottom of the pan, it's still warm, but it's not so hot as it was when it came out of the pan that we have to worry about, you know, the volcano erupting there.
And more napalm.
Vesuvius there. And to do that, what we're going to do,
Once you put the roux in, you simmer it for what, 20 minutes? Is that what it says?
not once you put the roux in, once it begins to simmer,
Yeah.
15 to 20 minutes.
Oh, 15 to
But-
20.
Remember, the sauce can't tell time.
Right.
So when's it going to be done? What's that?
20 minutes.
It can't tell time.
Right.
So it's done when it finish.
Well, when are we going to know it's finished?
When it dry out.
15, 20 minutes.
Damn it.
When it dry out.
Scrape that up. But you can see the difference in color
Oh, yeah.
already.
Oh, yeah.
How it's lost that, you know, and if we don't get the tomato paste dark, it's not going to have the same flavor. It's going to taste like a combination between brown sauce and spaghetti sauce. Okay, so as we're cooking, you know, we want to get that a little darker. Now the pinçage here, we can use it for some other things. Like we've talked about how sometimes you have to use a convenience product. I talked about sauce that I had to use at the yacht club, one envelope of sauce mix, 1 gallon of water, mix them together, bring it to a simmer, brown sauce, okay, nothing wrong with that, but making it different, making it unique to you, different from what your competition might be doing. If, in addition to doing that, then we made a pinçage, added that to that convenience item. It's going to enhance the color, it's going to enhance the flavor. Then before we serve it, we make some kind of a reduction with it. Okay, so now once you add water in there, you will see some bubbling. What's causing the bubbling? Well, okay, it's the heat. But what's bubbling?
The juice.
The water is evaporating. So don't do anything once you add water in, once you scrape it up until, you know, if it's bubbling, you need to evaporate more water. Now we hear it sizzling. Okay, so we know that there's some brown happening there. And if we slightly scrape it around, we see where we have more of that brown fawn there.
Yep.
Okay? So again, a little bit more water, not a lot. Sometimes you get some in like the corner of a pot. Like down here, there's a little bit. Put the water in, tilt the pot up on its side, and then you can get into the corner of that there. Now, if you want to see, is it brown enough? Okay, we're going to let that, okay, it's getting there. We're going to let that cook a little bit more.
Is that a medium fire, chef?
Yeah. It doesn't get brown, and then a lot of hard stirring action. You're going to end up splashing it up onto the sides of the pot. Real thin metal sides that might burn. The tomato paste that would burn, it's going to impart a bitter flavor in there, and also it won't dissolve. The brown tomato paste will dissolve in the liquid. Burnt pieces like tomato ash won't dissolve, so you'll see black flecks in there too. So if you look here now, we're starting to get a little bit of action happening around there.
Bubbling on the dough.
Yeah. So now we can take a little bit of the roux. Don't have to get it all in at one time. Add it in there and whisk it as it goes in. One thing that's important about this is when you're transferring the roux to different vessels. So we transferred it from the pot to the bowl, and then from the bowl back into the pot. You don't want to leave any roux behind. So we leave a teaspoon behind when we go from pot to bowl, and then another teaspoon behind when we go from the bowl back into the pot. That's enough to affect the thickness off. And we made 6 ounces of roux because we need 6 ounces of roux for this. Okay, so that's up at a boil now. Now we'll turn the heat down so that it's just at a light simmer. And then you can see
it's thickening up.
Yeah, it's thickened a little bit. Okay.
Yeah.
But it's
not near
nowhere
it.
near it. Yeah. So we're going to, look at, like, again, think about, like when it's, so it's 2:44, about 5 minutes after 3 is when I check it. Okay, 20 minutes. And then we'll see,
Okay.
if it needs a little more time.
Yeah.
That's good there. Get out there.
Okay.
Hang out.
I don't know if we talked about this last week. We talked about the different odor clues for roux.
Yeah.
Cooked flour, popcorn, brown roux. What's that going to smell like?
Nutty. Or popcorn.
Yeah, what kind of popcorn?
Burnt popcorn.
Yeah, a little bit of burnt popcorn. Now, the visual clues were important for the blonde and the white roux, but the brown roux, no matter what fat we use in it, by the time it gets brown, it's going to be the same brown. Like the white roux, we said if we use clarified butter for it, it would look more golden than white, but the brown roux, it's going to be brown, no matter what fat we used for it. So what's it smelling like now?
Like popcorn?
It's just starting, it's more white at this point. Okay, but it's starting to get into that blonde stage.
What happens if you use a different kind of flour other than all-purpose?
What's that?
What happens if you use like a different flour?
Well,
all-purpose?
it's the starch content that's important. So you could use bread flour. You could, a lot of kitchens don't carry all-purpose flour. And then in that case, they would use bread flour. Pastry flour and cake flour, you could use that also, but they're more expensive. So if we're trying to, make some money, okay, now that color there is more what we want for that pale or blonde. And then we're getting that real strong Orville Redenbacher aroma to it.
I just had to get some air.
Some
Sit
air.
sit at a desk all day, you get kind of.
Come on down here, we'll let you make some sauce. You want to stick around.
Bad thing. I made some spaghetti and meatballs this weekend. Oh, now I'm thinking about it.
I'll be talking about that because these guys ain't eating anything today.
Oh, yeah. You just don't know what you're missing. It's cold enough for you guys?
Right, spring.
There you go.
Now, once we get into that blonde stuff, there's a meat mallet over there.
Yeah, I'm not gonna get
Just
involved in
club me
that.
right- Club me right in the
I
forehead.
know the answer, but I'm not gonna say it. It's been bugging me.
When it's the right consistency.
When will we know it's the right consistency?
When we look at it.
Say it, Joe.
Back of the spoon.
What's it called?
Oh, scum.
When it
Scum.
Fawn, fawn.
Now it's come.
When Moses
You guys are just puking out words. Means absolutely nothing.
When you can part the Red Sea.
That's right.
Red Seas and it doesn't come back. And it's
That's
nice and
Nappe consistency. Nappe. N-A-P-P-E.
Nappe.
But you described it well. Yes.
That's why I got nappe hair today. I'll remember that. Oh my gosh.
Shit.
Too funny.
What's this?
What?
That's what I'm recording. I can go and watch this. That's it.
Okay, so we don't want to whisk in the roux until it looks like it's beginning to simmer.
Yeah.
Okay, it doesn't need to boil, but we'll start to see some action around the edge of the pot. And now, even though we're adding roux to the liquid for this, rather than liquid to the roux like you will be doing for your velouté, whisk is still the tool that we use. Okay, what we want to do though is the way to do that is what we're going to do is take your whisk and go into the roux and pick some up on your whisk, and then take that and put that in rather than trying to, because it's not really going to pour out easily from there. So we'll just take a little bit of that and see how much darker it got than when we
Yeah,
first
sure did.
started to do that. That's that carryover heat that we talked about there.
No, simmering it.
Well, you can start to see a little bit happening around the edges there.
Yeah.
Yeah. The stuff was cold, so it'll take a while. Now, doing that pinçage and allowing that tomato paste to darken, okay? You notice that I wasn't constantly stirring that either, okay? Good. What's doing all the work at that point?